Swedish melodic hard rockers Rian have a brand new record of hits titled Wings on August 4th, which will be out on Frontiers Records. Lead vocalist Richard Andermyr sits down with Talking to Fastlane to discuss the band's start with the Out of the Darkness independent EP, which launched the band to the signing of Frontiers Records for the album 23, the brand new record, the writing of the songs, and everything that's happening in the Rian camp. Talking to Fastlane starts now. First, I want to say welcome to Talking to Fastlane.
Thanks.
We really appreciate you taking the time to to step in here and talk with us. And obviously, you guys have the new album coming out August 4th, and two new singles. "Carry My Wings," which is a awesome song. I mean, that's vintage Rian.
Great, thanks.
And you brought out "We Ride" today, the lyric video. Tell us about those two songs. I mean, I think it's a good representation of what this album is about.
Absolutely, it is. And I mean, well, I think those are some of the first songs that actually came into work on the album, and they especially "Carry My Wings" because that one was a riff and it was a melody hook, and it just kept going on and on and on in my head, this melody hook of "Carry My Wings," and I have like an old recording of it on my cell phone, and it's that was like where it came from, and then it started to build into song, and we rehearsed with the band, and we started to add all sorts of things into it, and it came into the song that it is. So that's probably the one of the first ones, and "We Ride" was quite kind of next to it as well as another one. So we weren't quite sure which one of them was going to be sort of the first track on the album, because that's sort of the first single, and I think also the first track on the album is an important one, because if somebody completely unknown picks up the album, we want them to hear the song that really represents it. So we were debating a little bit on those two, which one should go first, but we ended up with "Carry My Wings" because it was just we felt it had more of the pure Rian vibe in it, as it has the real, like, well, how should I call it? There's a lot of dynamic in the song. It goes between the heavy riff and the chorus, and then the very more subtle verse. So it's a little bit different. So that was how we worked around those two, more or less. Yeah.
Both great songs too. I mean, I was happy. It was funny because I got on the computer this morning and I saw the "We Ride" lyric video come up on YouTube, and I was like, all right, this is a perfect intro, for the interview today to discuss that, that song coming out. And it's it like I said, it's a good representation of the album. August 4th, I had a chance to listen to the tracks. Dustin sent me everything to listen to before this interview.
Cool, great.
Review everything, so I was real happy about that. But I look at the album, obviously "Carry My Wings" and "On the Wind" and "One in a Million," another great song. Just different songs, but it's a diverse album, and I love that you guys do that. I think the fans are really going to be excited about this one.
Cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of diversity, and there's a lot of different stories going on, and yeah, there's a lot. I mean, musically, the songs are also varying a little bit, but I mean, we try to sort of stick to the same kind of theme, but it's just that, I mean, when a song comes up, it calls for something, and then I feel, and we, I mean, as a band, really, because the band is really influencing a lot where the song goes. I mean, if we have a melody and then it's like, okay, all of a sudden we have something pulling in a direction I didn't think initially, but I mean, when it does the song justice, and when it's the right thing to do, then we do it, and I mean, we don't care if it sounds different from another song. It's just that it was the right thing for the song, and I think that's why we end up with these kind of diverse songs. We do it song by song. We're not really trying to, of course, I mean, all the songs are written on this album quite close together. I mean, it's we're talking about like 4 months of time where we wrote these songs, and I think, of course, there's a lot of similarity in between melodies and things like that. But I mean, if the song really calls for a certain kind of musical atmosphere, we're gonna say, okay, let's do it. Yeah. So that's how I think we end up with that kind of result. Yeah.
I think that's great to hear, and it's nice to, I could hear the band progress between the first three albums, and like with this album, you could hear, even a more mature band. It's like you guys are really tight now, and it's a cohesive, set of music, and the entire album is an excellent listen all the way through, man. You could really tell from a fan's perspective, how much you guys have matured. Like I said, and it's really a great sound. The band just keeps getting better and better.
Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, that means a lot to us. Yeah, and I completely agree with you that that's exactly what's happened from the first album to this one. Yeah, it's different, and it's also different in the way that the albums have been produced, because the first two albums we worked with Daniel Flores, who's a great friend, and he's been a fantastic mentor to the band, and he helped us with the first two albums. But for this third one, we discussed and we said, okay, hey, we think we have what it takes now to do it on our own, and let's try it out and see where it takes us. So that's how the evolution has gone, really. But yeah, it's been a great progression, and I completely agree, and I'm really happy to hear that you get this impression when you listen to the different albums. That's super nice to hear.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, I look from a fan, and I love what you guys do. Obviously melodic hard rock, but you do it with a, it's like a clean twist. It's a good appeal. Like it brings the '80s, into the modern era, but it also has that good modern sound, with the production, and when you went into the studio with this one, obviously third record, you always want to improve on the next one, so you have something to prove. And this time you went in with, Dennis Ward with mixing and mastering.
Yeah.
I think is a fantastic choice on this. Everything that guy does. I had a chance to interview him a few years ago, but what was it like working with him, and what was it like in the studio this time, or how you guys did the recording?
Okay, so that it's an interesting question. Dennis, he's a fantastic sound engineer, musician, whatever. Composer, anything like that. I have a lot of respect for him, and he helped us out a lot on this one, because the way we did it is that we, just speaking completely frankly, we were working with Daniel Flores as our producer for the first two albums. We said, okay, let's try to do this on our own. Okay, I realized quite quickly that, we're not going to mix this ourselves. We're not going to do it. We need help. We need somebody who can do that. So let's try somebody that does not have the color of the band and that we really like. Okay, and I worked with Dennis a couple of years back with another band called Hearts on Fire, which was from the Honduras in South America, actually, and I was singing on that album. Dennis was mixing, and it was a great experience, and I just liked the sound that he was able to produce. So I asked him if he could help us mix our album. He was happy to do that, and we set a date for delivery and things like that. And then we started working on the songs, etc. And I sent him rough demos all along the process. He was super helpful. He came back with feedback and said, "Okay, guys, maybe you should try to do this, cut that part, do something like this." And he helped us a little bit with some arrangements, and that was really cool. And then when it came to the actual sound mixing of it all, it was just, when we got the first track back from him, it was wow, how did he get this out of what we sent him? Because we didn't mix it. We we recorded everything and we made a pre-mix, you know, and then it's always like, okay, everything sounds fine, everything is in tune, everything's nice, you know, there's not a like a the out of tune guitar somewhere or some stuff like that. So we just checked everything that now it's where it's supposed to be, and we sent it over. But just to get that final punch when the drums are fully mixed and the bass guitar has the fullness of it all, and yeah, that was really nice. And so yeah, we're super happy with that cooperation. It was fantastic. Absolutely.
It's nice, and when I first listened to the album, and I listened to everything in headphones just so I capture the full experience. And I think everything that you did on this one, and with Dennis with the mixing and mastering, I mean, you guys really nailed it. Just like you said, that backstory is just great album.
Yeah,
So
super nice. Thanks a lot for that. It's nice to hear. Absolutely.
so when Brian goes into write an album, what's the writing process? When you go in to write, is it a riff? Is it a chorus? Is it something that's when you go in and you say, well, hey, I have the lyrics here, but I need a riff to go with it. I mean, what's the backstory on how you go in to write a song?
No, the process is that I'm writing on this album, I've written all the songs except for one which I co-wrote with Tobias, lead guitarist. And mainly the songwriting process is it's mainly it's an idea of a melodic hook that I get in my head. It just comes in my head from somewhere. Usually when I have a hard time falling asleep, and then there's like a whole progression of a song that's building in my head, and I have to like pick up my phone and record it, because many times I think that, okay, if I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to remember this. This is so good. I'm going to remember it, but it never sticks. So I just record it on my phone, so I have at least a humming the melody, which and then I can remember. So that's, I would say, 80% of how the melodies come, and then sometimes, the guitar riffs can help. Sometimes the piano helps a lot. It's very good to step away from the guitar riffs and all that kind of stuff, and then just play the piano and listen to the chords, and okay, how they progress and how the melody works over them, and then you pick up the guitar afterwards, and then it becomes another story. So that's often how we do it. And then, of course, then the band comes into the picture, and then things change a lot in the arrangements and everything in everything. So really, if you say that the basic melodic idea comes from me, but then we build it together as a band, and that's how the songs come out. So it's a fantastic process, and it's really a teamwork, and it's fantastic to work with everybody involved. So it's a pleasure.
You guys are turning into a juggernaut, at least in my opinion. And like I saw the Carry My Wings video on YouTube, and I really thought, Ryan doesn't get, the voice out there. I mean, like sometimes, people don't share things, at least in the US. And I said, man, these guys don't get enough recognition. Let's start sharing some stuff and spreading the word for these guys over here, because, you guys are, a fairly young band. It's not the band that's been around forever. And it's really the bands like you guys are what's carrying the torch. I mean, this is what's up and coming for us. And I think that says a lot about this music and how strong it is. Especially with bands like you.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't know. I mean, from our perspective, we're just trying to make music that we love. That's just the core of it. I mean, if sometimes songs pop up and I feel that, okay, we could do this song and not, and if I don't feel connection and then it's not going to go. It's just I have to feel with every song that, okay, there's something in here that I really love, and I really can feel that this is true. This could have been written in the golden days or whatever. I mean, it's just it has to feel like that. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, and it's just yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's for the listener to decide, but for me, I feel that all the songs on this album, the third one now, there's not a single one that I would, you know, single out or yeah. I just think that we just try to do our best, and yeah, that's that's it. And I mean, once we've done that, we're happy with that, and then everything feels great. And I mean, it's just that, yeah, I don't know what to say, but
It's a great finished product, and you could hear the passion too that comes across from, you know, in the music when you listen. And you know, I know you guys, you know, music is about that. I mean, that's really what starts it all, is the passion
absolutely,
for it and
yeah.
everything. And you really bring it across very well. And that's why it's such a good, you know, it's always a good time to put that music in there and just sit back and listen and just really enjoy,
Sure.
you know, what
Yeah.
you guys do.
I remember now. I didn't answer your question previously on the writing process, because you asked as well about the lyrics and how we come to the lyrics, etc. So I'm just going to explain that, because
Sure.
a
Absolutely.
lot of people ask me that many times, say, okay, how are you writing lyrics and versus melodies, and how do you put the songs together? Because I've had a lot of people saying that, oh, well, of course, the songwriting has to start with the lyrics, because the lyrics is telling the story, and then you build the music around it and things. I think it goes many ways, but it would surprise me if not most melodic musicians or melodic songwriters always start with the melodies, because for me it would feel completely unnatural to start with a lyric and try to build a song just based on a lyric, because the music just comes as you cannot, you know, pre-order it, the music. It's like you can't say, okay, I want to create a song now that has to have this kind of mood, and it should tell this kind of story, and it should like follow that kind of lyric, and it should give this kind of feeling when you hear it. The music and the feeling comes, and it's impossible to tell where it comes from. It just happens, and then you feel that sort of thing inside the music, and then you write the lyric to accompany that. That's how I do it, at least, or how we do it. And it's just yeah, it's a process, and it's it's the most natural way, I think, because then the lyrics can really suit that sort of sentiment that the music gives. And I think that's the yeah, that's the thing that has worked best in our songwriting.
It really comes across, like I said, with the passion. And, you know, we're talking about, you know, the new album, obviously, but I wanted to get back to when the band started. What was it like when you guys started? Tell us about the start of Ryan, and how did all this come together to get to this point?
Sure. that's that's a good question. The thing is that, you know, me and Jan Johansson, the drummer, we've been playing together for, I think, almost 20 years now, is maybe even more. We've played in different kinds of original bands that we've had, and we've played like West Coast music, we've played cover bands, we've played many different things. And but I was always working on the hard rock songs, and I was working on them on the side. And that's also how the name Rian came up a little bit, because it's my old login name from when I was in school, and I used that name to sort of as the artist name for the demos that I was creating in my home studio. And Jan was listening to these songs a couple of times, and he just said, hey, Richard, we have to do something with those songs, because they're really good. We got to start a hard rock band, you know. And then we came to a point where a lot of the other musical constellations we were in, they just naturally came to an end. And then actually Jan told me that, hey, let's do this now. We can take in Andreas, who is a bass player that we used to play in one of the other bands. Let's play with Andreas, let's do something. And okay, so we started to jam as a trio first, and then you know, we started to jam on those hard rock songs, and it was a lot of fun, and then a lot of new ideas came up, and then Andreas couldn't be with us anymore, and we found Jonas, and then we were already halfway into the album. We had already started discussing with Daniel and the production of the first album, etc. So it just went on from there, and I, you know, I can tell you to this day, I mean, if Jan had not been as persuasive as he was, I mean, there would not have been a Rian. So he's for 100% should have all the credit for being the founding member of the band. So that's really, really cool. And yeah, and we started to build. We found Jonas, and then later we found Tobias, and that was the end lineup that we have today, and I think it's working really good. We're a great team today, and yeah, so that's cool.
That's a great story. And then, you know, I go back to, you know, the first time I heard you guys with Out of the Darkness,
Yeah.
you know, and that record. And I was surprised to see it today that I didn't even realize that it was an independent release. And, you know, obviously I heard the first song that I heard was Out of the Darkness, but my favorite has been Hideaway for a long time. And that song just
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely amazing. And I remember, you know, being at work, you know, and doing some paperwork, and I had my headphones in, and I said, man, this is a great song. And, you know, just sending it out to everybody. But, you know, that album as an independent release, the production and the songs, man, you knew that, hey, this band's, you know, is going places. I mean, these guys are here to make a statement. You know, tell us about that first album a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the first album was I mean, that was the beginning of the whole story, because we wanted to record an album. That was the end, you know, of the whole the end goal that we had. You know, when we started, we said, okay, we started jamming, said, okay, let's play live, maybe let's make a demo. I mean, we had all kinds of ideas, but then we just said, hey, but we've done that so many times before, let's just we make a real album now, let's do it. And then so we started to think about ways that we could actually produce this album, and how should we do it, etc. And then I got in touch with Daniel, because I knew him. We actually went to the same school way back, and I knew who he was, and what he had been doing, and I really liked that. So I just reached out to him and said, hey, could you listen to this song? And I sent him actually a live recording of Out of the Darkness, that song. And he replied back and said, hey, we have to talk about this. So I called him up, and we had a chat, and then he convinced us to say, hey guys, we have to make an album, and I want to help you, because I believe in this. So that was really, really cool. When the album was done and recorded, we self-funded everything. We did it all, and then we started to pitch to see how can we release this. And you know, we got connected to Melodic Rock Records in Australia with a guy called Andrew McNeese. So he helped us release the album on his label, and that was the start of it. And I think it was really good. Great support. I mean, we wrote the songs, we did it, we worked super hard, but we had great support from Daniel and from Andrew on that one. So I mean, that's how you came to hear it, and how it got out. But when we started discussing about you know, taking these songs and creating something out of them, we never saw the end game, say, okay, this is going to be an album that's going to be released worldwide. We never had that insight when we started. That was just something that came along the way. So it's another proof of, I think, one of the things I really believe in as a person is that, you know, if you feel something, you believe in something, if you just lean into it, things are going to start to happen, and it's going to create a snowball. It's just going to roll, and you never know where it's going to stop. So it's just to really dare to take the step and just do it, because that was the thing that got us started, really. So and yeah. And I'm grateful for that, and especially to Jan, who was the guy who was pushing me to do it. So that's really good.
That's it. I mean, sometimes, you know, artists need a break. I mean, especially the way the industry is now. And
Yeah.
you mentioned Andrew, and I've done some things with Andrew as far as he does media things for us, and and
Yeah.
and he brings out a lot of great albums, and he's so he's so I'm gonna say, he pushes it, and he believes in it so much, and he's like the melodic hard rock guy, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it's great to hear that that he did this for you guys, and that's really what started it to get you to obviously 23 and the signing with Frontiers. I mean, that's
Mm.
another great album. I mean, you know, uh, what was it like, when you made that transfer? Frontiers signed you. Um, when we're looking into songs like Stop, obviously the
Mm.
opening song and Where Do We Run? And one of my favorites is Stranger to Me. I think
Cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a great song. But what was it like? I mean, you could, like I said, you could hear the band progress, but obviously
Yeah.
signing, and you had that push. What was that like when you got signed?
I think when we got signed, I mean, I think we were already there. I mean, I mean, the songs were written, and we were in production, and we were discussing with Frontiers then, and I think that's the progression really that tipped it over for them, because they felt that, okay, this is mature enough. Okay, now this is something we want to back, and yeah, so that's how it went, and I think the progression really was more, as I said before, leaning into it. We written one album and then going to the next one. It's going to be a lot of mistakes made, and you're not going to do them again. So then the things progress, and I think also the melodic sense also developed a lot in that period. When those when the album 23 was written, just another curiosity behind the scenes, I was rebuilding my home myself. I had no I had some help and stuff like that, but I did a lot of things, a lot of painting, sanding things, fixing things around the
Right,
house,
right.
and I was listening to music, and I had to play. I was going radio on Spotify on artists from uh, back in the day. So you take like early 80s up until like something like 89, so something like that, like the whole 80s, and I was looping that in with some 70s stuff, and for I think a period of 2 years I never listened to any new music at all, nothing new.
Right.
I just listened to that, and the things that I could remember, and things that I could recollect, things, some of the albums I have myself, or other things like that. But I just made like some small playlist with things that were rolling, and this just gave inspiration to create things that really had the essence of the time, but then taking it into something that's modern, new, and something like that. So yeah, I think that's how 23 came into play, and that was how we did it, with the experience of the first album being recorded, and then some influx of nostalgic stuff as well. So I mean, that was how we went about it, basically.
That's a great story. I mean, we all know what doing things around the house is like. I mean, remodeling and things. So
Yeah.
you get to like you said, listening to those different things from the '80s and stuff. And that was actually my next question is, uh, what about influences for you? I mean, obviously you guys have the '80s influences and things, but what are some of the ones that really stand out? And what do you guys? I'm not going to say so much pattern yourself after, but what are some of the bands and artists that you feel are, really influenced your music?
It's that's really difficult to answer, because if I talk to the guys in the band, you're gonna get so many different answers. You have like a you have our lead guitarist Tobias. He has a death metal band, which is
Oh,
called
wow.
Riket. And then they're singing in Swedish. You can't hear what they're singing anyway, so You know, but it's a really super cool, tight death black metal band, and you know, I have full respect for what they're doing, but it's not at all my musical style. Then again, this guy, he started out with melodic rock, and he never got into it, and now we came across the opportunity for him to play it, and I mean, I think he does a fantastic job at it, and I think that this is where he should be. But I mean, so you see, there's one of the differences, and then we have Jan, the drummer, who is like, he's into a bit of, you know, 90s stuff. He likes grunge music, which I don't like at all.
Right.
And so it's just we have so many different sources of aspiration. But thinking, if we talk about the songwriting and where that comes from, I would say sometime in my mind, you know, 84 to 87, the bands that were playing at that time, and that kind of sound, because that is what influences me as a songwriter, and I also in production. I mean, that's where we're steering the music into that direction, because that's where Rian wants to be, and that's how we want to sound. Then again, it doesn't have to sound exactly like that, because if you listen to a production from early 80s, the drums sound really, you know, there's no bottom end, and you know, and that's nice too in itself. But today we have modern technology, we can do things better, and I think we use that technology, but let's try to keep the vibe the same, and that's it. So I mean, it's really difficult, you know. As a singer, I could mention a couple of favorite, you know, singers, stuff like that, but I wouldn't like say that Rian tries to sound like, you know, this band or that band, or because there's so many influences that are affecting us. Of course, some of them are obvious to hear. I mean, you know, we've heard a lot of things, like we sound similar to like Dokken, or to even to Europe from Sweden, etc., things like that. But I mean, it's and then there's all the other bands, you know, from Sweden. You have Heat Eclipse and Crazy Licks and all those bands, etc. But I mean, it's just not. Personally, I don't listen to new music at all. I mean, I listen to old stuff, and sometimes there's a new song that pops up that I like, but there's a golden era of music that I really like, and I try to listen to that and feed my inspiration from there, and then try to do something with it in the modern day. So that's basically it. Yeah.
I think that's cool to hear. And you mentioned that, you know, all the guys have different, you know, tastes and influences, and it comes together so well here with this band. You know, obviously that the heaviness of the guitar and your vocals and even that, you know, little bit of 90s. I mean, just a little bit of injection in there to the modern stuff. You guys really put together an amazing band here. You know, just hearing that story, you know, it's really cool to hear how things start. You know, because as a listener, I go in and I look at things differently when I go in. I say, well, yeah, now I know how he wrote the song. So it makes me a better listener. So I think that's cool to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's a pleasure to tell the story as well, because and it's fun for me too, because it gives me some time to reflect and think about what we've done. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
It is. It's good. You brought up, you know, I mean, how you guys, you know, do different things and everything. How about you as a vocalist? I mean, do you do anything special to, you know, to keep your chops up? You know, because it's you know, obviously 3 albums, and you just keep getting better and better and better. And like I said, you hear that progression. Is there anything special that you do to
Thanks.
you know, to maintain?
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. And yeah, I do. It's just that, you know, I think there's like I don't know, but sometimes when I talk to people, there's a misconceptions, you know, thinking that vocals is like something that either you have it or you don't, and if you can sing, you can always sing, and you know, sometimes people, they like, you know, we can be out on the town and have a couple of beers, and people are like, hey, well, hey, go up and sing something. Yeah, you can sing, man. It's like, hey, man, I've had 5 beers, forget it. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And you know, it's just that it doesn't work like that. You know, it's okay, you can have a talent and you can have a sense for melodies, and you can have a sense for learning an instrument, and then the voice is one instrument, the guitar is another, piano is another, and
Right.
you know, the voice, the vocals is like playing an instrument which has no fixed setting. It's like a fretless bass or a trombone or something like that, and you have to train it, and when you come to singing, like melodic hard rock with really high pitched notes and stuff like that, it's like, I compare it to like it's you know, it's an extremely physical sport. It's like doing
Right.
any kind of sport, like 400-meter dash or you know, pole vault or whatever. You have to
Right.
practice like hell, and really practice. And I'm I don't mean necessarily practice how to sing, but you have to keep your voice in shape, and it means just singing a lot and resting in intervals, which
Right.
like you would do if you go to the gym. You do, you know, 10 reps and then you rest, and then you do 10 reps and then you rest for a day,
Right.
and you do
Right.
you go back, and you have to do the
That's it.
same with singing. You know, if you sing full on for 2 hours in the studio, you have to rest 2 days so your voice recovers, and then the more you do that, the faster the voice recovers, and the better it's going to have in terms of stamina, and then you can do more. And then so that's just, it's like any athletic sport. Training, practice really hard. It's the only thing that works. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's right too. I mean, and like you said, especially in melodic hard rock. I mean,
Sure.
with the different variances and stuff. And you know, Andrew, you brought or Richard, you brought up Sweden. You know, where you guys are
Yeah.
obviously from, and
Yeah.
I always say, you know, what's in the water up there? Because you guys, I mean, seriously, I look at all the different bands that come out of Sweden, and you
Yeah.
mentioned a few already. You know, Crazy Licks Europe, you know, and you guys and Vipera's out of there. You know, one of the new guys, you know, one of the newer bands that I
Mhm.
really like those guys. But what's the music scene like up there? I mean, is it something to where there's a lot going on in melodic hard rock, or is it just something you guys just feed off of, you know, different scenes? Tell us about the scene up there a little bit.
You know, it's a very difficult question. But I think Sweden has, I mean, Sweden has a long culture of, you know, of melodic music, dating back to like folk music in you know, 200 years ago, and stuff like that. There's been a lot of evolution around that, and Sweden has had a certain amount of success internationally in musical contexts. And I think there's something in the culture in the country, which is also relevant for Finland, actually. I mean, it's there's a sentimental part of the culture which relates music to feelings and emotions, and I think that maybe there we have some kind of way to connect to these melodies that you know, minor melodies or major, but mainly, I mean, melodic rock is a lot of minor, and it's I think that's something that comes from our history a little bit, and especially the way that I think the way that the melodic rock was played, it's, say, in California in the 80s, that could like strike directly into the heart of a Swede. I mean, because it was just there that it was invented and it was played. There were a lot of Swedes over there at the time as well, of course, but I mean, I don't know, myself back in the day, I was just a kid, and you know, I remember hearing songs on the radio that they struck me so hard that it was just like there's no washing out, you know. It's
Right.
just, it's stuck. It really stuck. So yeah, I think there's something there. Then yeah, I think we also have a lot of, you know, possibilities in the way that Sweden works with our society, and we have a lot of support, you know, in the youth groups and stuff like that, to have rehearsal studios available. There's a lot of things that are promoting in the society, that are helping musicians to play and to do things like that. I remember from years when I was in school, we had a lot of help with teachers and support groups, and you know, all kinds of ways of having the possibility to play and to borrow instruments and amplifiers, drums, even, you know, it was just yeah, it wasn't hard, you know. We could do it. I think now, if you think about the kids today, I mean, now you have to fight against the iPad, you know. It's like,
Right,
so
right.
do you look at your iPad or your smartphone and do you learn how to play the guitar? I was talking to a kid the other day, and he was asking me about playing the guitar, and he was saying, yeah, but how can I learn to play the guitar? And yeah, I said, you have to practice, you have to do this and that. And I taught him, showed him a couple of things, and he says, yeah, you know, yeah, but you know, it's so much work. When am I gonna have free time? You know? And I'm like, hey, playing the guitar is your free time, man.
That's it. That's
Come
it.
on. It's like, yeah. So that's maybe some for the future. That's something I fear. but
Right.
you know, I hope that most kids are gonna grow out of their tablets and into their musical instruments or other interests, and I hope that we can let rock and roll live a lot longer than today. So
I definitely agree.
yeah.
Well put. Well, so, you know, just saying, you know, Sweden, we love you. Just keep doing what you do.
Great,
Keep this
thanks.
music out there. I mean, you guys are doing a great job up there in that country. I mean, just like I said. So what's up next for Ryan? I mean, you know, you got the album coming out August 4th.
Hmm.
What about any live shows or anything special that you guys are doing?
Yeah, we were actually discussing about that in a chat just now. We haven't booked anything, planned anything as of now, because it was yeah, this album put a toll on us. It was a lot of work. So we just say, okay, now let's put it out. Let's see what happens, and we're gonna meet back again in a couple of weeks' time and discuss together, see what we do about it. But I mean, for sure, yeah, playing live, that's what we love to do. So it's just about making everything work around that to give the time and and the possibility to do it. So that's really about like time and prioritization, etc. So
Right.
let's see where it goes. I can't tell anything specifically about it now, but it's just that we're talking about it. So and absolutely, we love to play live, and there's yeah, that's what we aim to do for sure.
That's always a good thing. I
Yeah.
know nowadays it's so difficult, especially to tour. I mean, obviously Europe, but you know, to bring a band like you guys to the States, you know, is almost impossible anymore. And
Mm.
it's a shame because, you know, we'd love to see you guys here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'd love to come here too, but it's you know, maybe ask the Frontiers guys, hey, you know, give us a little bit, get us over here, see what they do, huh?
Sure, sure, but I mean, there you know, there are festivals, there are things like that, opportunities to play, etc. And you're absolutely right, because for us it's a question of, you know, what kind of budget are we talking about? How can we afford to do it? You know, because playing in Sweden, yeah, we can do that, etc. But I mean, if we're going to leave the country, travel on tour, go somewhere, etc., then we're talking about expenses, and you know, they have to be financed from somewhere. And I can be completely honest with you, and you know, it's not a gold mine to release a melodic rock album today. I mean, it's
Oh, no doubt.
that's for sure. I mean, we spent a lot of hard-earned money, of our own money, into this purely because of passion, and you know, we're working our way forward, and let's see what the future brings, what we'll be able to do. I mean, if we had the opportunity to come to the States to play, I mean, I'd be the first one on the plane, for sure. That would
Right.
be fantastic, amazing.
Well, how about any last words? I mean, obviously you know, we have the album coming out August 4th, Wings. You know, everybody that's listening in, get on the Frontiers website or wherever you can and get a copy of this because I've listened to it multiple times now and it's fantastic. I mean, if you love melodic hard rock, these are the guys that continue to bring it. And how about any last words, Richard? Anything that you want to get out to the fans?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who ever purchased the Rian album. Thank you to the people that reach out to us, write comments on our Facebook page, whatever it is. I mean, it means so much just to hear it, even if it's negative. It doesn't matter. Just make an opinion. Just say something. You know, it just it's it's just so cool that the music that we create creates emotions in people, and that makes them react. That's what keeps us up, and that's what keeps us alive. So I just want to say huge thanks for that, and yeah, keep it up. Keep listening to melodic hard rock music, and let's do it.
Let's make this
Yeah.
one big. And in closing, I want to say, thank you for doing what you do, because I mean, it comes from my heart, listening to you guys and what it does for me as a fan, and to be able to have this music in my life. And, and I know you guys put a lot of passion and a lot of effort, to get it out here. I just want to say thank you for that, because it's an art, and it's appreciated from my heart, and everything that, that goes through my life. And you guys do so much for the listener. I just want to say thanks for doing that, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that.
So Richard, I wish you the best of luck with this record. You guys deserve it. We're going to spread the word here. I'll be sharing this interview. I'll share it with you guys. I'll continue to share everything, Rian, everything that you guys bring out, and I'll continue to listen. And let's keep it moving, man. I appreciate it. Best of luck with the album, and I'd like to have you on again at some point. Great interview.
Absolutely. Whenever you whenever you want to have a chat, we're there, no problem at all. And thank you so much for this interview, for the chance to spread our word in your channel. And yeah, keep it up. Thanks a lot.
You too. Best of luck, man. Have a good day, Richard. Thank you.
You too. Thanks. Bye.